make a video talking about book lingo that I've seen people use, and some of them I didn't know what they were. And because I'm newer to the bookish community, I want to make this video so that we can either refresh or learn new things together and just talk about things that people use. So, like I said, I'm new to this bookish community and I just want to go over the terminology that I've seen people use in the bookish community online and hopefully refresh either some experienced members or help new ones learn. So the first one I want to talk about is TBR, which is kind of self-explanatory, to be read. And my TBR is massive. I don't even know how many books I have on my TBR, but I know it's over 100, which is personally my fault, just because when I was younger I wanted to buy as many books as I could get my hands on, and I didn't realize that books took a lot longer to read than I thought. Slowly I want to work on getting my TBR down so that I can buy newer books. I've been on a constant book buying ban just because I have so many I still need to read, and if I do move at any point, I'm scared that they will just eat me alive. So there's that. The next one I want to talk about is DNF, which is also kind of self-explanatory. A lot of these are easy, but there was a couple that I didn't know and had to look up. But DNF is did not finish, and I refuse to DNF books. It might be a problem, but even if I absolutely hate the book, I will finish it. I know there was only one book that I absolutely hated and struggled so hard to get into it, and I made myself read the entire book, and I believe it was called the Poisonwood Bible. There was nothing bad about the book, it was just the content. It didn't vibe with me, it wasn't my kind of book, and I only read it just because someone else lended it to me because they wanted me to read it. And I know at the end, part of it made me cry a little bit just because it was kind of sad, but the rest of the book I ended up just skimming the pages at some point because it was a massive book too. It was like 600 pages, and I was just done with it. I wanted to be done. I think I should familiarize or get myself more comfortable in DNFing books, but I also feel like I spent the money on this. I should read it, even if I don't like it. It's just like, if you bought something, why would you not use it? So that's why I just refuse to DNF books. And maybe in the future I'll get more comfortable with it. But as for right now, I can't. I've never been able to. I don't know why. Also, there are hard DNFs and soft DNFs, which I feel like could get me more comfortable with DNFing books, because a hard DNF is I will never pick this book up again. I'm completely done with it. Whereas a soft DNF is right now this just isn't hitting. I need to pick it up later and try again some other time. So I've done this once, and it was just very recently, within the last 2 weeks, because I'm trying to get myself to not force myself to read something that I don't want to. And it's for some reason DNFing books is terrifying to me, and I don't understand why. If you have this experience too, please let me know, because I feel like I'm the only person that goes through this, and I don't know why. So the next term I want to talk about is POV, which is point of view. It's a simple term. It's easy. I know what it means, but I can't get the words out to explain it. So POV is the perspective of the character that you're reading a book from. The perspective of the character that you're reading in a book. So for example, you could be reading from a 16-year-old girl's perspective, or a 70-year-old man's perspective. Point of views could be first, second, or third person. I don't really know if I have a preference of to which one I like reading in. So with first, second, or first person is like I, me, second is you, our, and third person is he, she, or they. Um, Most books are commonly written in third person because it's easier for like a narrator kind of view. So like you can see, you're technically like a fly on a wall, so like you can see all around. um I know a lot of books I read typically are in first person point of view, like I did this kind of thing. Second point of view books are not as common. They're more in like fan fiction, especially if it's like inserting yourself into the story. Continuing on from that, we have MC, which is main character, and that could be anybody, like the character that your book follows closest. It could be up to 6 characters. Sometimes there's like 8 or 9 characters. Like most books typically have 1 to 2, um, but I've read several with like upwards of like 6 people, and it can get confusing. And I don't know if I have a preference on how many main characters I like. Like I know I've read Akatar, which has several characters, and I liked it. It was balanced really well, and throughout the book, like you got to equally learn about them. And in other books where it's just 1 to 2 characters, it's typically like a romance where you might start off with one character and like learn all about them, and then they bump into someone else, and then they finally like they expand on their story and fall in love. Yeah, just main character. And sometimes it can be expanded on for like MMC for male main character or FMC for female character. It's not as commonly used unless like you're writing something out. I typically hear people say main character more often than MC, just because I think it sounds better to just say it fully. The next one is arc, which this is one of the ones I had to look up. I've heard people use it a couple times, and I didn't know what it meant. When I hear arc, I think of like character development, but that's not what it was. So arc is advanced reader copy, which is basically just a book that is mailed to you before it's released, mainly so that the author can get your feedback or reviews on the book before it's published. The next one is BookTok, BookTube, which is just, it's self-explanatory. It's just the communities where the platform where the community is at. So, I feel like the biggest two are on TikTok and YouTube, which I only have YouTube. I have YouTube and Twitter, and those are like my only social platforms. Like, I don't have TikTok, I don't have Instagram, like, I don't have all those. Personally, it's just because I get too sucked into the apps and I'll spend way too long on my phone staring at them rather than either reading or like doing chores or something that I need to be involved in my real life rather than my phone. And I found the only way to do that is just simply not have them. The next one is tropes, and I don't know if there's actually like a set amount of tropes, just because they can be so particular or very like broad. Which the definition that I have here is a trope is a common story element. So let me think of an example. An example would be Grumpy Sunshine or Enemies to Lovers. So with that, like most people read and pick up books based off the trope just because that's what they want to read. I don't know what my favorite tropes are. I haven't read a lot of books with different tropes that I'm not aware of, mainly because I haven't read a whole lot of romance. I mostly read mystery, and that's pretty much it. So like I need to expose myself to more to know what I like. I know for sure I like Slow Burn, which I don't know if that would be technically a trope. I think it would be. And then I like the idea of enemies to lovers. I don't know if I've actually read a story, but like I'm writing a story with enemies to lovers. So, or at least attempting to. And I want to do it right. So I need to definitely read books that are good and bad with that trope, and I've seen lots of reviews for good and bad enemies to lovers. But I also think it depends on the person's perspective of what enemies to lovers is too. All tropes are spectrums, and I don't feel like there's anything that could be good or bad unless it's like borderline illegal or illegal. Like age gaps for one is a little concerning in my opinion. I've never read one with an age gap, but I've definitely heard some stories and it's concerning. The next one is mood reading. Simply you just read based on what you feel like reading. Your mood, you want to read something, you feel sad, you want to read something sad, so you'll read a sad book. If you're going to the beach, you might read a beachy themed book. It's simply put just mood reading. The next one is Slump, and I feel like I've been kind of going through one a little bit, and it's just burnout from reading, or like the way I experience it is like I want to read, but I don't have the energy or the motivation to actually pick up the book and dive in. Like it almost feels like too much effort to jump into a new world and learn the characters and everything. So like I just put it off for too long until I finally get the motivation again to like jump in and start reading. That's how I experience slumps, but I've also heard it used as like burnout, which I guess is kind of the same way. The next one is buddy reading, which is pretty self-explanatory. You're reading with a group or a friend and you read a book together and talk about it. I don't know the format of how you would do it, like if you would read like a chapter and then talk about it, or if you would read until you finish the book or what. Like I don't know how that works. Another one I want to talk about is Backlist. This is another one that I had to look up, and I don't even know what I thought I meant, but a backlist is basically when you have an author that you like or you're just aware of, and you're reading her or his most like recent books, and you want like a backlist is when you can go back and read their older published books. So if you find an author and they just published a book, you can go back to their backlist, which is their older books that they've published, and that's what that is. Another one is cover by, and it's simply just judging a book by its cover, and I have been guilty of this way too many times. I know even like books that I've bought, I judge by the cover, and like I'm like, this book, I don't know if it's gonna be good just because of the cover, and I don't know what made me buy it in the first place sometimes. Maybe at the time it sounded good, it looked good, so I wanted to get it and I got it, but then I never actually read it until way later, and now I'm like, this doesn't sound good. But me being me, I refuse to do enough books. I already bought it, so I'm gonna make myself read it because at one point I thought it was interesting, so maybe again I'll find it interesting. The last one I have on my list is a Readathon, which is a group reading challenge over a set time. If you want to do like a 24-hour readathon, like you can do it by yourself or with somebody, and you'll just pretty much read as many books as you can, and kind of like a marathon. Like you'll go from point A to point B, and you either do it by yourself or with people, and you go for it. I know this list is kind of a duh kind of moment, but I know there's a lot more terms that we could go over. Maybe I'll make a part 2 or 3. I don't know how many there are. But if this helped anyone, please let me know, because I know learning new things and wanting to be part of a community and feeling overwhelmed can make someone withdraw from something, and I wouldn't want that for anyone, especially in the reading community, because it's such an amazing place. I would want anybody and everybody to come, even if they've never read a book in their entire life and they're like 60 years old. You should still pick up a book and just try. Even if the first book was awful, just try something new. Like keep looking until you find one that you absolutely love, and then just go from there. But if there was any of you that didn't know these, or if there's any that I missed, please let me know. And until next time, happy reading. Bye, friend.